Hello and welcome back to another Dare to Game video. Today we are playing Skull and Bones and we're doing another ship guide, and today it's going to be for the Padewakang, the first of the medium ships. And so if you haven't seen one of these videos before, it's a pretty straightforward process. I'll show you where to get the blueprint for this ship, how much it costs, where to get the materials, how many you're going to need, how to craft it. Then we'll talk about the strengths, weaknesses, and stats of the ship, and we'll finally go into the optimal build, the combat style that you want to use with the ship that most effectively utilizes its strengths and weaknesses. And I'll show you the specific weapons that I recommend using for this ship. So let's just get on into that. We'll start off with the schematic. And so the schematic for this ship is one that you will have to actually travel across the ocean to get. So if we're starting from St. Anne, you do have to go over to Padewakang to get this one. This one is where we're opening up into the East Indies section of the game. And so this can be difficult because the first time you cross this ocean can be quite the hazardous trip, especially if you're using the sloop or anything smaller than that. And so there's a couple ways to go. The most direct route from St. Anne to Padewakang, or the quickest route, is to head straight up along this line and then around this point and down into Padewakang. It's just shorter and a little bit faster. It's also really, really difficult to do, and you're very likely to get destroyed by enemy ships, especially privateers, since they will immediately be hostile. If you want a safer but slower route, that's also good because it'll unlock some outposts. You can head straight up from St. Anne. You're going to go past Lenitra, and your first stop's going to be Moyan Creek in this island here, La Escali. Then you're going to head over towards the Three Brothers, and then from there the Return Fleet Bight, and then from there to the Ruined Lighthouse. You're going to be heading through this little narrow gap between these two islands here. Then from the Ruined Lighthouse up towards Karst Lookout, and then you'll be at Padewakang. This route it's got a lot of advantages. It's a series of small stops, so if you get damaged or anything like that, you'll be able to repair yourself, and if you get destroyed, you'll be able to start from any of those locations, whichever was the most recent, so it's easier to do. For your first crossing, that's probably the way that I recommend best. I did the up and around, but whatever the case is, that's how you do it. Once you get to Padewakang, getting the schematics pretty easy. So if you walk right off the dock, you're going to come off that dock right there and down these steps. And so we're going to go down here, and it'll be the second shop on the left here is where you'll find the shipwright. And this is where you purchase that schematic. And so if you go into buy and sell, you'll see under the buy section, there's going to be a whole bunch of cosmetic items and all that crap. But way down at the bottom, you will find the Padewakang ship blueprint, and you can see that it costs 5,280 silver. So, it's not super cheap, but it's also not crazy expensive. Once you've purchased that, we're going to be looking for the crafting materials that we need for the ship. And those crafting materials are 18 ironwood planks, 15 steel ingots, 15 fine ramie, 4 shellac, and 4 crude saltpeter. And so all of these can be found in this general area. You'll get them as general loot from taking down ships and all sorts of stuff like that. But if we want to be more specific, we can harvest or loot all of these from specific locations. So starting with the ironwood planks, if you are starting from Padewakang, you can see the Kenker lumberyard is very close by. That is where you can loot a bunch of ironwood planks. So if you just go and plunder this lumberyard, you'll get a whole bunch. If you don't want to plunder, you can just go to any of the ironwood trees in this area, or the nodes I should say, and harvest plenty. So this little loop right here around these islands and then along the coast of Padewakang, and of course up as you go further, you can harvest plenty of ironwood logs and then bring them back to Padewakang and refine them. So that's how you get your ironwood planks. Your steel ingots are going to be up a little bit further into a little bit more dangerous section. There are 2 foundries up here where you can loot them. The South Damai Foundry and then the North Damai Foundry. Both of those are where you can get a bunch of steel ingots. If you don't want to loot those because they are a little bit dangerous, any of the pure iron nodes that you can find along this coastline are going to be harvestable, and then again, just harvest as much as you need and get back and refine it into steel ingots. So that's how you do those. Those are both pretty simple. The ramie is actually going to be over to this side, so you can see the weavery that we need to go to is the Kenker Weaver. This is where you can loot a bunch of fine ramie if you plunder it. Otherwise, if you just want to harvest it, it's this little 2-leaf symbol, so you can see there's a whole bunch of it along this little coastline here, and basically all around this island you'll find ramie, so harvest a bunch of those and you can refine that. Shellac and crude saltpeter are a little bit more complex, but not really. They're another thing that you're going to find in this whole general region here. For one thing, both of them are common loot to find on Dutch ships in this area. If you want to purchase, just starting with the shellac, Kenker, Kodalama, Damai, and Sangdad all will sell 1 each time you go there. Now you have to go away, and there's a certain amount of time that it takes for the store to refresh, so you can just purchase all of the shellac that you need for this. If it's it's a little bit too difficult for you to loot for it. Otherwise, all 4 of those settlements, so again, Sangdad, Damai, Kodalama, and Kankur, all of those, if you will plunder them, you'll get plenty of shellac, usually 4 or 5 or more from each one of those settlements. Otherwise, again, like I said, any ships that you'll find in this area, you can look at them with your telescope and it'll tell you if they have any on them. A lot of them will. Or if you don't want to do any of that, all of the shipwrecks in this general region have a chance of having it. So starting down here at the Ruined Lighthouse, you can see that there are several different shipwrecks in this area. A lot of those will oftentimes have shellac. Same thing goes for all of the shipwrecks along this coast. So you can see that there's plenty of them all over the place. And so all of these have a chance to have shellac on them. It's relatively easy to get. When I first got to this point and was looking for shellac, I was a little bit confused because I couldn't find any way to make it, and it didn't seem like it was easy to find. Now I've got so much of it and nothing to do with it because I realized it's all over the place. So that's shellac. For saltpeter, it's a little bit less common, but it's the same thing. All of those settlements where you can loot the shellac, you can sometimes buy saltpeter from them, but more often you'll just get it if you loot them settlements. As well, any of the ships that you sink in this area have a chance of having shellac. So everything between these 2 islands, just look at it with your telescope. It'll tell you if it has saltpeter. So that one is one that you just exclusively will get from sinking ships. So that is how you get all of the materials you need for this ship. Once you have it, you bring all those materials back here to the shipwright and you will build your ship. So it is the 6th one, the Bombardier Padewakang. So you can see it starts as a rank 5. It is a class Padewakang. It's the first of the medium ships. So there are certain missions in the game that will require a medium ship. This is the first one that will satisfy that requirement. It says a larger ship capable of taking on multiple enemies when properly equipped. The ship type is a DPS, so specialized in dealing damage and status effects. The DPS favors an aggressive playstyle. The perk for the ship is Detonate, so it says explosive hits have a 70% chance of triggering an explosion, which deals 1,000 damage within a 125 meter blast radius, increases to 100% if target ship is ablaze, increases damage to structures by 50%, and weapon damage radius by 12%. So this ship has a lot of perks to it. The Detonate is a very good perk. Obviously, what this means for you is that you're going to want to maximize your explosive damage that you do with the ship, so when you're looking for weapons, and we'll get into that more specifically, you're going to look for ones that have a good explosive damage. What this also means is that if you're going to team up with another teammate and you want to be as effective as possible with that person, it's great if they have a ship that specializes in that ablaze effect, because it makes you deal even more damage to these ships if they're already ablaze. So just for a little bit of a multiplayer team up note, that's a great way to go. For the stats on this ship, it's like I said, base ship rank of 5, hull health of 37,000, brace strength of 7,400, speed of 11 knots, trimming speed of 14 knots, so not too terribly slow, cargo space of 70,000, stamina of 100. This one is the first one with all 4 options for our weapons. We have our bow, broadsides, stern, and this one's the first one with an auxiliary weapon. Now you may not be able to do it right away. That's a rank unlock, so once you get your infamy rank up high enough, you will unlock the ability to start using an auxiliary weapon. And this one also has 4 furniture slots, so you can customize it quite a bit. As far as the weapons that you're going to want to use for this one, there's obviously a ton of variety. Like I said, as long as you prioritize explosives, you're going to be good. But specifically, so starting with our front and back weapons, our bow and our stern weapons, you're going to want to use a bombard of some sort. If nothing else, use the standard bombards. They all have the explosive 1 perk. They all have all the general perks of using a bombard, which is that it's a weapon that can be used at nearly every range. It's one of the longest range, but can also be used up close. They have a decent reload speed. They deal a lot of damage. They have, again, for this ship specifically, they have the explosive perk, which is something we want. So if nothing else, just general bombards, whichever the best you have. If you have the enhanced bombards, the best one is going to be the Dardanelles gun. This one's the best because it has the explosive 3 perk and just does a ridiculous amount of damage in general. If you don't have that one, or you only have one of those like me, then the next one that you're going to want to look at is the Mons Meg. And again, if you have 3, that's great. Otherwise, just whatever the best one is. This one has the explosive 1 perk, just like the other ones. It also has some other ones. So this one has the Siege perk, which will help you deal more damage to structures, which is very useful, especially against forts. It also has piercing, and just in general does a lot of damage. So those are your options for front and back. Some sort of bombard for both of them. Again, just to recap, if you don't have anything else, the standard one. Otherwise, best is the Dardanelles gun. That's your front and back. For your side weapons, I generally recommend culverins for these. Now, obviously, you could do bombards on all sides if you want, and it would be pretty dang effective. But I like having the flexibility both in ammunition type, so you don't accidentally run yourself out of all your ammunition, and also just range and usability. So the Basilisk is going to be your best option for your side weapons, just because it gives you the most flexibility and also does a lot of damage. If you can do the Basilisk 3 on both sides, that's obviously the best way to go. Otherwise, otherwise the 2 or the 1. For your auxiliary weapon, the best option in my opinion is going to be the termites, and these are going to be the best for a couple reasons, one of which being you have the siege perk again, so if you're going against buildings, this is going to be another one that'll give you that advantage. It also does piercing damage and just a ton of damage in general. You can see our total battery shot for the termites 3 is 13,000 damage, but this one has the advantage of giving burning, so you can maybe even set the ablaze effect on yourself, and then instead of needing a teammate to do that double up, you can maybe do it yourself. So not everybody likes the rockets. If you do, then I think they're the way to go. I think whichever the best termite you can is the way to go with this ship. If you don't like the rockets, or you don't have them yet, or whatever the case may be, then a mortar is going to be your best way to go, and the Leopold is the option you're going to want just because it does your blast, so you have that explosive damage and the flooding damage. So the Leopold is going to be very effective with the ship because it plays into what we're going for. Deals a great deal of explosive damage and has the advantage of also doing some flooding, which will slow down your enemies. So termites, if you like rockets. If you don't like rockets, then the Leopold mortar launcher is going to be your best bet. And that is all your weapons for the ship. As far as armor is concerned, whatever the best you have is going to be the way you want to go. If you got the Black Prince, pop that on. Otherwise, the Gamma Kobe 2, the Ouroboros, the Bastion 3, or the Iron Husk 5 are all going to be extremely top tier armors that will really, really help this ship be, you know, that much better. But if you don't have any of those, whatever the best one you've got is the one you should put on there. Now, in some of these videos, I've gone into furniture. I'm not doing that anymore just because I realized there's way too much variety. Just as a general thing to make this ship more effective, anything that will increase the specific damage of your weapons. So if you're using bombards, then any furniture that increases the damage or fire speed or anything like that of your bombards is going to help. If you're using culverins, same thing for them. Otherwise, general survivability, things that make you take less damage, things that make you fire faster, reload faster, anything like that. I find that the difference they make is not as big as trying to find the right synergy between these specific weapons and the base perks of your ship. But that's all for today. That's the entire video. I'm probably just going to clip some extra combat footage here at the end for you to enjoy of me using this ship with this specific build. But that's all for today. We'll see you next time. Thanks for watching another Dare to Game video. If you like this video, please leave a like and a comment. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the channel. If you like my content and would like to support this channel, consider becoming a member today for as little as $1.99 a month. It makes a huge difference. But in any case, thanks for watching and have a nice day. I'll see you next time.